All right. Whenever you're ready, Marcia.
All right, thank you. Welcome, everyone. My name is Marcia Porter Norton. I'm a La Plata County Commissioner and Vice Chair of the RHA. And I believe Pat is in a foreign country. I can't remember which one, but I agreed to run the meeting today in his absence. I have pretty big shoes to fill here, but we'll make our way through the agenda. It is currently 2:02, and I would like to call this meeting to order. If we could have all the directors or actually, JJ, can you do the roll call for the directors? And then we'll go ahead, and we know we have public here, and we do have public comment right after that. So go ahead, JJ.
Yeah, absolutely. Also, just for the record, I just put in the chat the link to the packet if anybody needs that. But for roll call, Marcia Porter Norton.
Present.
Kevin Hall.
Here.
Gilda Yazzie. I know she was working on it. She was having some technical issues. Eva Henson.
Here.
Katie Sickles.
Present.
Brenna Moreland. Nope, not here. I know she was intending to be here. Mark Garcia. Oh, I see him popping in right now. He's connecting to audio. I'll give him a second. Clark Craig.
Present, and just so you guys know, I am driving, so I'll be present and quiet.
Good. And then Mark Garcia. I think he's still connecting to audio. I've got visual confirmation of Mark. All right.
Hey, JJ.
Yeah.
Question. Mead Harbison here, Southern Growth Fund. I don't know if I'm on the board or not. I missed the last meeting. I'm so sorry.
Oh, actually, it's the steer committee that you're on, Mead. This is the RHA. Yeah.
Yay. So can I drop off and have a couple more hours of my day?
You certainly can. We'll see you in a few weeks.
Wonderful. Sorry to interrupt. Thank you guys.
Thanks
Be
for
well.
stopping in, Mead.
All right.
All right. Well, thank you, JJ. And if we could have because we have a good amount of the public here, and thank you all for being here. If we could have the RHA staff introduce yourself, please.
Yeah, well, I can start then. My name's JJ DeRosier. I perform secretarial duties for the RHA.
My name is Sarah Tober. I am the La Plata Economic Development Alliance Deputy Director, and I am also the RHA Director through that.
My name is Sarah Schwartz, and I am the Housing Program Manager for the Alliance and the RHA.
My name is Mike French, and I am the Director of the Alliance.
All right. He is the Director of the La Plata County Economic Development Alliance. All right. Thank you, everyone. And again, members of the public, welcome. We will now go on to public comment. And I just want to call the RHA's attention to the fact Lori Roberts, one of our most dedicated public people coming to our meetings, did email us something today. If you didn't get that, let me know. And appreciate everybody who gives public comment. And I'll just, if you don't mind doing the Zoom thing of putting your hand up, I'll call on you. We've never really put a time limit on it, but just, being respectful that we have a full agenda today. All right, Jessica.
Hi, so I'm with Habitat for Humanity, and I know you mentioned people needing to recuse themselves. I'm not sure if this is the issue.
You're welcome.
This is the issue. And so, and Gilda, good morning, Gilda, or good afternoon,
Morning.
I guess I could say. Good afternoon. You might want to mute yourself because I'm not sure your mute's on yet, so.
Do you know how to do that? Okay, I'll do it for you. Oh, I hate Zoom. So you'll just.
Oh,
She's expressing how some of us really feel, right? So yes, I believe that Habitat would, and Ms. Jones would like to talk about an opportunity, and because it's in the county and may potentially go through the land use process, a number of us will need to recuse ourselves. And JJ, you can take us to a different breakout room and we'll chat amongst ourselves.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So that breakout room should be open now. I believe anyone who's concerned, you should have gotten a little pop-up that will give you the option to join there. That'll take you out of the main room. Not, let me know. Not seeing that? All right. Oh, that's because I got to click the button for it.
Okay.
Now you should have a pop-up.
Great, thank you.
Jessica, just give us one moment,
You
please.
bet. No problem. Just let me know when I'm good to get started.
Okay. I think Kevin has to go too. It's on the very bottom, the breakout rooms.
I don't believe I do. I mean, I'm not in a decision-making role. I'm not on the community development staff for the county.
Great.
Yeah.
I think we're ready.
And just for clarity, I'm on a cell phone and I don't know how to get to the breakout room while driving on a cell phone. So maybe it's a different button. Join
Here,
breakout room.
Clark, I will. I'll get you manually overridden into that breakout room. So just hold tight. And Jessica, you can go ahead and start.
Okay, great. Thank you. So Habitat for Humanity has been approached about a year ago by someone who owns some land over in the La Posta area. The address for the 5-acre parcel is 65 Air Park Drive. She would like to donate the land to us to go towards our affordable housing program. But she is hoping to get some assurances from the city or county that we will actually be able to move forward with, getting utilities run and like actually finishing out the build project before she donates to us. Which is a bit of a conundrum for us because we know there's not much we can do without owning the property, actually holding it. So we're looking for a little guidance and seeing if there's anything that we can do to get some, like I said, some guidance towards how we can move forward and make this owner more comfortable, because it is directly across the street from the proposed development for the city out in the La Posta area. So it seems like a great time to do it all at once, but we're not quite sure, how to get the information that she's hoping for from the city or the county, depending on how the annexation works. So, Kevin?
Sorry, I can't seem to raise the little icon hand, so maybe this will work just as well. And certainly Eva might be able to chime in here, but that property is in the joint planning area, but it is certainly outside the city limits. My recollection of Animas Air Park, it's a very unique area with a unique set of development standards and processes in place. I think it would be wise for whether it be Habitat or whether it's the current property owner, but somebody should consult with, I think, start with city planning. And again, Eva, if you want, if you have any other thoughts on this, but to just kind of get a bit of a feasibility conversation, because I know putting housing up there isn't traditional to what's up there. It's essentially an industrial business park. There is some housing up there. However, it may not be as simple as building a single family home up there. And I think it would be worthwhile to have, I don't know if it's a pre-application with the city to talk about it, but I think that would be the starting place. What it would likely end up in a joint planning situation. But again, I don't think you should make an assumption it's a shoe-in just because you have a parcel up there that you can get housing on it. I think it does require a little work with the city for starters.
Of course, yeah, and that's kind of what we're looking for is where should we start? We did meet with Gilda yesterday at her office hours, and she recommended that we, come in here today and present this to you all so you could maybe hopefully point us in the right direction.
Well,
I would
that's
agree
my
with
my
Kevin.
recommendation.
Yeah. And Jessica, we've met. Hi,
Yes.
good to see
Hi.
you.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I would say I'll follow up with you. We have a general planning inbox, kind of an email
Okay.
that I can kind of coordinate with different team members on. That usually helps before pre-app or pre-app or anything
Mhm.
happens. It's
Okay.
all about that feasibility.
Okay.
And we can certainly navigate that to help you.
Okay, perfect.
Is there some time urgency with the landowner?
Not necessarily. It's more of an urgency for us to, we know it's going to take some time to get utilities and things run if we do get the land. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And what was the address again?
65 Air Park Drive.
Okay.
And we have, before Rachel passed away, she had some plans made up for, potentials for the area and sort of built up a little neighborhood of, potentially 64 units. And I can send this around or, however would be best. But so we've looked into it. There's some pre-development that's gone into it to try to ease the landowner's mind. But this is obviously that step that we would need to try to confirm. So
Okay, that's great. Yep. I will follow up with you after the RHA board meeting. How about that?
okay, that sounds great.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
All right, Jessica, is that all you got?
I think that's it.
Okay, wonderful. I
Thank
will
you.
close the breakout rooms. Marcia and Clark should be popping back up here in a moment. All right, it's doing that thing where it gives them just a little bit of where it starts an automatic clock. So give it a second.
All right, that worked like a charm. Thank you. And I think I saw Lisa's hand up. Did she already talk? No, anybody else want to?
I haven't.
Oh, okay. Does
Sorry,
anybody else?
sorry, and I apologize for not being able to show my face at the moment. But I can hear everything. Been paying attention. And is Jessica still on? I'm going to send her an email if you're still on, Jessica.
She
because
is.
we did look at this property. We looked at this property earlier, so I'm going to send you an email about what we found about a year ago. 2 years ago. Goodness, time is flying. But just wanted to let you guys all know that I am planning the Colorado Mountain Housing Coalition Conference. I'm the president of the Colorado Mountain Housing Coalition. You are all invited to the conference. We're doing kind of pre-registration right now, trying to work out some glitches in our system, but I will be sending an email to everyone inviting you to the conference. It will be April 14th, 15th, and 16th at Mount Princeton Hot Springs in Nathrop, which is right next to Buena Vista. And it was a great conference last year. It's always a really good time. And we get to learn a lot from other communities and other organizations that are similar to the RHA and to each of our other organizations that we represent. So would love to see each of you there. If I'm going to put my email address in the chat. I think that everyone here has it, but just in case someone doesn't, please reach out to me if you would like information about the conference.
Great, thank you, Lisa. Anybody else? Can raise your hand if you don't mind. All right, we're looking good on that. I will close public comment, and if we had anybody new joining, welcome to the RHA meeting. Next is approval of the agenda. We have 2 items on consent. We don't have any public presentations or engagement today in terms of a formal presentation. We've got 6 items under Alliance updates, and we have 2 decision items, 3 discussion items, and then members give update, and then any announcements after that. Do I have a motion to, does anybody wish to remove anything from the consent agenda? Hearing none, do I have a motion to approve today's agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve today's agenda.
All right, do I have a second?
Second.
All right, thank you, Katie and Gilda. Counselor Yazzie, All in favor, say aye. Or
Aye.
put your thumb up.
Hi.
All right, it looks like we have an agenda that is approved. Next, can I have a motion to approve today's consent agenda? It's the January 2024 minutes and the January 2024 financial statements. And JJ has nicely put what the page they are in your packet, and the packet's in the chat if you are new to the RHA or don't have the packet. But do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda? Kevin?
I had a adjustment to the minutes I wanted to propose, so I guess I would recommend, or I move that we approve the consent agenda less the January minutes.
Okay. All in favor, do I have a second to that?
Second, Mark.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
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 Hi.
All right, anybody opposed? All right, the consent agenda is approved in terms of the January 2024 financial statements. Why don't we move? Can we move now? Is it okay with everybody to looking at Kevin's changes to the 2024 minutes, January 2024 minutes? All right, Kevin?
Sure. It relates to our discussion regarding the strategic plan adoption, and certainly we're going to talk about that a little bit later, and I'm fine with everything that's in there, but I wanted to clarify the minutes in terms of something I said last month, or how it's referenced to what I said last month, and that's on page 6. And I'll just read from the top of page 6. To address the unsuccessful 2018-2019 effort, and this relates to working with jurisdictions on land use amendment regulation modifications. Ms. Tober suggested implementing an idea proposed by Director Hall. That's all fine. It's the next part. For the RHA to create a policy paper outlining best practices in land use for each jurisdiction. And my comment wasn't for each jurisdiction. It was a paper outlining best practices in land use that could be provided to each jurisdiction. So it's, my comment was one analysis, one white paper that would be distributed globally to each, rather than a best practices in land use for each jurisdiction. So I think if we just eliminated, there's a couple ways to go. You could just put a period at the end of land use and eliminate for each jurisdiction. I think that's consistent with what I said. Or we could say to be provided to each jurisdiction, something to that effect. And I guess I'll leave it to staff to wordsmith it.
All right, do any of the directors have any different recollection or an issue with that change? And Kevin, do you have a preference? It might be good if you could say if you prefer a period after that or to be provided to each jurisdiction.
So after land use, let's strike for each jurisdiction that can be provided to all jurisdictions.
Okay. All right. With that change, is everybody okay with that? Anybody have any qualms about that? All right. I'm seeing that it's okay. All right. With that change to be made to the approved set of minutes, do I have a motion to approve this set of minutes with that change?
So moved.
All right, the Mayor of Ignacio, Mr. Craig. All right, is there a second?
I'll second.
That was Trustee Moreland. Thank you, from Bayfield. All right, all in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. All right, looks like the motion carries. Thank you, Kevin, for that close looking at of the minutes. All right, Alliance updates. I will turn this over to Sarah and Mike.
Well, our first thing is to talk about the Catalyst Fund. Mike, would you like to kick it off?
Yeah, happy to. So I'm in a hotel lobby, so I apologize for the background noise, but you will get a little bit of lobby music to accompany my report. The good news is the DIDF Executive Committee had made a recommendation to their membership for vote to approve the recommendation that dissolution of DIDF, as well as the distribution of funds remaining just shy of $2 million to go to the RHA and to the FLC Foundation. That was approved by the membership yesterday morning. So dissolution will move forward, and the RHA will receive approximately $900,000 within the next 2 weeks, followed by a small distribution once all of the legal fees and all of the settlements have been done for the dissolution. So we're working closely right now with how that language needs to look with DIDF. And I would imagine that we'll get a wire into the RHA bank account within the next 14 days. And then I'll work closely with Pat when he gets back. Marcia, I can work with you in terms of just setting up the funds to make sure that it's a separate account than the traditional account. And then we'll work with somebody to actually create the partnership with with actually the CDIF AHIF funds. That's the Affordable Housing Infrastructure Funds, to figure out how we jointly do underwriting and such. So very happy, very excited. It's just going to take a little bit of work in the next 2 weeks to set up the infrastructure, and then we'll start working on the logistics of how this is actually going to work.
And
Wow.
yeah,
Go ahead, Sarah. Sarah T.
I was just going to say, we've started, Mark and the accountant, Carolyn, have already been notified. So we're starting to work on the financial infrastructure behind that as well.
Right. Mr. Garcia.
Thank you, Chair. Congratulations, Michael, on securing those funds. Really appreciate all your hard work on this, and look forward to seeing if we could use those funds on our Rock Creek project. So again, congrats, and congrats to Sarah and others who've been helping out on this as well. Great news. Thank you.
All
Madam
right.
Chair, may I?
Yes, Mr. Craig.
Mike, we've got some new people on the call today. Can you give us a 1-minute overview of what these funds are going to be used for?
Yeah, absolutely. So unlike the Catalyst Fund, which is a pre-development grant application and distribution, this will be a revolving loan fund. And so we'll actually set up a Catalyst Fund 2 or Plan B or what have you. We'll go through a similar Catalyst application process, leveraging probably the exact same infrastructure of a working committee and an advisory committee. It might subtly change to involve the banking partners, but those will be loans that will go out to workforce housing projects. We'll likely use this Catalyst revolving loan fund at a no or very low interest platform, to be combined with others like the AHIF fund from First Southwest Bank. And we actually can partner with any banking institution that has an existing relationship with a potential client that is looking for a construction loan or line of credit or what have you to get a workforce housing project started.
And then we have some other updates about the Catalyst Fund regular after that, and just want to make sure that everybody gets their questions in for Mike now.
Clark, does that suffice?
Yes, sir. That was a great elevator's pitch. I like that one.
I just want to make a comment that this is just tremendously great news. And I know that I know we had to fight for it, so to speak, you know, that this easily could have all been given to the foundation, the Fort Lewis Foundation, which of course everybody recognizes a wonderful cause and very aligned with the Durango Industrial Development Foundation. So I really congratulate the staff, and I know others were a part of making a presentation, and I think it shows how when we make asks to the community that workforce housing can be prioritized, and people get it. At least this is one moment in time. So anybody else on this? And big, I am going to be gone, by the way. If you need anything from me, like physically to sign, I'm gone from tomorrow to Valentine's Day, but can be on email and be on the phone. So let me know.
Keep in mind.
Okay.
And
All
then,
right, and then do you want to continue on with Catalyst Fund updates?
yes, absolutely.
Okay.
So we have completed round 2. Most of the distributions have been made. The contracts have definitely been signed. There's a couple of the projects had a stipulation or two that they're meeting, and then they'll receive the rest of the funding. We had coverage in the Durango Herald, if you all saw that this week as well. Again, bringing in those mobile home parks and that preservation piece has been very notable for the Catalyst Fund, and we're glad that we've expanded the rubric. And then we do expect round 3 to open in March with closing and distributions made in April, May. So just keep that in mind. And I think that's all I have for the Catalyst Fund. Oh, you're on mute, Marcia.
All right. Let's go to the program director report. Again, back to you, Sarah, and we're on page 14.
Great. Yes, we do. I do want to talk about the steer committee meeting. We had a very successful steer committee meeting that had about 15 folks there. We were aiming for 18, I believe, and we have been in communication with about 30 folks who have interest, would have liked to have been there, that sort of thing. So we do have a couple of places that are still kind of vacant, and that includes the Ignacio School District and the Bayfield School District. So if a director has contact information for those two, we would love to reach out to them. And then another space is that we had a Parks and Open Space. There was the question of adding Kathy Metz or Faith Community Representative Julie Cooley, but I don't have contact information for either of those as well. So this is the spreadsheet that all the directors had. Oh, great, Clark, glad to hear that. And then, yes, so we are reaching out to folks for the March meeting. We're looking at either March 4th or 5th. And again, I know you all were included on the email that we sent to the steer committee following up afterwards. That included our presentation to them, everything that you all have kind of seen and heard before, including the overview document. So we had, again, good representation from industry, from leadership, from advocates around the La Plata County who want to get involved in this, and most everyone has stayed involved. The few folks who declined, they kind of declined before that meeting, but most everybody who came to the meeting so far wants to be involved, and they want to stay as committed to it as possible, understanding that they might not be able to make all of the meetings, but we've had great support so far in the creation of this. Great, thank you, Marcia. I appreciate that. And then,
anybody have any questions? Or we did get the email. I looked through it this morning. Thank you to, if there's anybody on this call, I think I see Chris Coleman, and I might miss some people who are on, but thank you to everybody stepping up. But any of the directors have questions? Great news about the interest in such great organization. Thanks for sending the things that the steer committee is getting out. That was helpful.
yes, we're very excited about the movement around it. We also are having conversations with the Buell Foundation related to their potential financial support of the work that we're doing with the steer committee. We think there's an opportunity with that to pursue some funding and a toolkit that they have opening up in March. They actually approached us about it, so that's very exciting. That would entail childcare potentially, and Jen and I have talked about that, because if we do pursue something on the ballot that is specific to the RHA, we might not be able to include childcare. However, they could pursue their own ballot measure and would have done a lot of the legwork leading up to it. And or there might be potential, just like we looked at last year with STRs, that it could be a joint effort. So as this onion continues to unfold. We'll keep everybody in the loop, but it was refreshing to have so much community support around this initial meeting for the steer committee.
And similar to what Mayor and Director Craig said, do you mind doing like 3 sentences or 4 sentences on just for new people of what the steer committee does?
Yes, absolutely. I even have my little document to reference because I am challenged with the acronyms sometimes. So the steer committee is the Regional Housing Alliance effort that was addressed in the RHA board retreat last year in determining that we need to have a sustainable funding source for workforce housing here in La Plata County. We determined that a steer committee could help us get to that point. And that is a stakeholder task force for evaluation and endorsement of revenue streams. So the goal is to have at least 15 to 20 folks on this committee that represent all of La Plata County. And it can be leaders, it can be advocates, it can be folks within the industry. We have the banking industry represented right now. We have chambers, we have BID, we have a number of advocates in the community as well. So it's turning into a nice, robust, and we have FLC and 9R obviously represented. So it's turning into a robust steer committee that is focused on looking at potential revenue streams and determining which one is the right one for the RHA to pursue. So we will be providing to them in these upcoming meetings, we'll be providing them data, polling information, we'll be providing them various taxes that could be levied or that could go to ballot. We will be talking about the budget needs and how this will all, funding the RHA and what a potential budget could do will enhance the efforts that are currently being made with the RHA. So this steer committee is going to be pretty involved, especially over the next 4 to 6 months, but we've asked them for a 1-year commitment for them to meet at least once a month and for 6 to 10 hours a month, depending on the kind of studies that are being looked at and the kind of extra work that is required for us to really give this issue due diligence. And then the steer committee, the result of this will be that the steer committee will make recommendations to the RHA board as to what funding mechanism needs to be pursued by the RHA.
Thank you, Sarah. Appreciate that. All right. Anything else under program director report?
I don't know how Lisa feels about this, but I feel like it is a big enough announcement that it requires us mentioning this in the meeting that Lisa Bloomquist Palmer will be leaving the Homes Fund here in the next few months. So we are super supportive of her journey and so grateful and appreciative of what a partner she has been to the Alliance and to the RHA. So Lisa, do you want to say a few words? I see you came off mute.
Oh, well, thank you so much, Sarah. I really appreciate it. Yes, it is official. I have submitted my resignation to the Homes Fund board. Aw, thanks, Kevin. That's very nice of you. But I've given quite a bit of notice. My last day I anticipate being either end of April or end of May, depending on the needs of the organization and my personal needs as well. I don't have anything specific lined up quite yet. It's a little bit up in the air to be determined. I'm hoping to enjoy the mountains a bit over the summer and then figure out my next moves. But we are looking for a new executive director. The job is posted both on our website and on various other places, Indeed and the Housing Colorado job board, et cetera, et cetera. So we would be very happy to get referrals and recommendations of anyone who might be interested in the position. So thank you very much for your kind words, and I'm going to be around, so it would just be awkward if I said goodbye to you all right now. So,
Yes, let's
but,
not do that. That would make me cry. So yes, we're
me too,
very,
Sarah. This is why I didn't open my camera. Just kidding.
right.
But,
We didn't. We are so, I mean, and again, the work that the Homes Fund has done in this community is incredible. And the work that Lisa has done is so admirable. So yes, we will not say goodbye right now, but we will continue to work with her. And we do, staff is planning to attend the summit coming up in April that her organization is putting together. And I'm also continuing the education with her on the new deed restrictions and the shared equity. And I'm so grateful for her pursuing that as well, so that that knowledge stays within the community. And then I need to mention one last thing before I conclude my director's report, and that is in our packet, you all will see a newsletter. This newsletter is what is a draft that we have put together for us to be able to send out quarterly. We have had requests from some developers and just some folks in the community to have some sort of outreach education mechanism like a newsletter. And so we have MailChimp, and we have been keeping a list of folks who have attended our education series and things like that. And from around the county and around Region 9, we've gotten a pretty extensive list of folks in housing that we would like to utilize that outreach list for and send this newsletter out. This is the draft of the first one. So this will need some board input for us to move forward with it tomorrow.
Do people have ideas? It is on my page, let's see, 14, the packet that I'm looking at.
And this
Well,
would to drive the financing strategies with CHAFA.
Yeah.
That's one of our Workforce Housing 101 series at the end of the month.
You know, I'll weigh in here. I really liked it because I don't know, I read stuff that we live kind of in a culture now where people are not going to read like a big long thing. And I liked it being 2 pages. I loved the graphics, the pictures. Yeah, I thought it was really good. And I'm anxious to get it as a PDF to send it out to, you know, either share it on social media or whatever, but send it to my own email tree. But I liked that it was short, yet you look at it and you're like, wow, there's a lot happening. And then the links to the 3-year strategy, and it was all really, really great.
Excellent. Any other
All
thoughts?
right. Other comments? All right. Sounds like we will look for that. I will take that as an affirmation of it, and we will look for that in our inboxes. Sarah, you're up next for goals tracking.
Yes, that's on page 16 of your packet. We've successfully created a steer committee, and the progress will continue throughout the year. And then we actually are making some progress on potentially on strategy 3, which I know we are looking to kind of table till 2025, but with this DOLA grant application, we are articulating that we would like to use a portion of it for a land use consultant who would help us to do exactly what Kevin was talking about earlier in creating that sort of white paper best practices for each of the municipalities and governments involved, but also this would include some technical assistance from this land use policy consultant as well for each of the government partners. So I'm very excited about the potential of this grant, and we're at about $175,000 for it in budget. It would increase capacity, and Mark has been incredible in helping make this application and continue conversations with DOLA to make sure that we're on the right track and everything like that. So that is kind of where we are with goals currently.
Does anybody have questions? I will take that as a no. Thank you. Really helps to see where we're at by having that document. All right, the Housing Summit.
Yes, the Housing Summit, page 17 of your packet this is a draft agenda that we've been putting together with some of the contacts that we have throughout the state through ourselves or through Project Moxie. This is a draft, and we are looking to lock down a location for April 30th, like we've all discussed. We're looking at the DoubleTree, and Sarah, you can say anything you have to say on that.
Yeah, that's currently the best place, still waiting on a proposal back from them, but we're aiming for 80 to 100 people, so that would be a nice size space. And the DoubleTree seems excited to host it, so hopefully we'll be able to lock down a location soon.
And we do have some bios on some of these folks. If you have questions about them, let me know. Again, this is a draft, and we wanted to just kind of put out there what this could possibly look like. And then at the end, have a closing reception with some of the funders. We feel like this would be a good space for people to be able to talk to CHAFA or First Southwest Bank or, Colorado Health Foundation. And these are some of the same folks that we would like to approach to receive a sponsorship for this event. So our goal is to offset the expenses of this event, if not make some revenue for the RHA through it. But currently, this is kind of what we're working with in our goals. So let me know your thoughts on this agenda. But basically, we are looking to make a save the date next that we can start sending out and get everybody putting it on their calendar. This next week is the goal there. And then we can continue to refine the agenda over this next month. But I wanted to get a draft in front of you all for today.
All right, looks like Kevin.
I don't have any specific comments about the agenda. It looks great. The one thing that I would offer up is, and it's been a number of years, certainly, back when the city did their housing plan back in 17, 18, give or take, we held kind of an open house regarding housing. And it was like standing room only. And, everyone from builders to, the kid who just got out of college who wants to learn about how you can get a house. And so why I share that is, I think when you message out who the audience is intended to be, I think you want to be real clear on that, or we will end up with a community forum on housing that maybe wasn't the intention of what we're trying to get accomplished here. So I just share that as a little antidote from the past. And I think we're going to have immense amount of interest in whatever it is we put out there.
And to kind of bring in the board to weigh in on that, I mean, we had talked about an audience of housing leaders, and we talked about like developers, construction industry, lenders, things like that. Are there other groups of folks that I'm kind of missing?
Anybody have a thought on that?
Could I maybe expand a little bit? And I heard earlier about when we were talking about Lisa's departure that they're going to do some type of forum in April as well. And I suspect they're two different things, but how do they relate, or how do they feed off of one another might be something we want to consider. And then is there a place for just a general public audience in one of the two things that we're doing? Because I just believe we're going to see a lot of interest.
I would concur. And when we talked about this, one of the things I didn't see on here, I would like to see a feature probably pretty upfront about who the RHA is and what we're doing. Because we can't assume that people are going to come in and know that. So it could be 20 minutes, it could be a handout, it could be a 10-minute PowerPoint, but just who's the RHA. And then,
And that's you and Pat at the first of the agenda for 30
oh,
minutes.
okay.
But yes.
Okay.
We'll
I didn't realize
we'll
that's what we
provide
were
it here for
doing.
you too.
All right. Okay. Happy. Well, good. Check that off the box then. And then one of the things that we talked about is having the steer committee be engaged. However, if they're not, I don't know when I know their work is going to be for a while, but just making sure that we're under that revenue streams, that if somebody from the steer committee could tell us what they're thinking and what they're learning, I think that'd be good. I'm always more interested. I love hearing from people from Denver. I don't want to seem parochial about this, but when we can hear from similar communities, Grand Junction, because I saw the Denver home builders on there, and it's just so different, and the market is so different. But so, a little bit more local feels good to me. But other than that, I think this is great. I think Kevin's question about audiences is really important. And just lastly, could we structure it so that maybe there's something from like 5 to 6 where the general public can come in, do an open house, get some cheese and crackers while they're picking up their kids or between sporting stuff, and learn about the RHA without having to take an entire day off. Because I think it would generate that public. First of all, the RHA is really going places. The steer committee is awesome. We're really doing something here. Just something for the general public is I concur with what Kevin said. Thank you. Other people have comments.
Can't figure out how to do the yellow hand. I should be able to see it. Yeah, this is not my first time on Zoom, but anyways, just a couple of things. I was thinking about the location and the space. I don't know how many folks, the DoubleTree, if it's the same room that Eggs and Issues was in. I believe we had a pretty packed house then. That was what, maybe 100 people. So is that sort of what we think when we're thinking about audience and attendees, we're kind of limited to 100? Okay.
Yeah, that's what we're thinking.
Okay.
And I think,
and then it looks like a lot of, presenters and information and education. Are we leaving some room for, and again, I'm just digesting all of this, but some Q&A somehow with that, because speakers will take up the whole time sometimes. So I want to make sure we're getting opportunities, and is that sort of a open forum? I mean, if you have 100 people in a room, as we learned with Eggs and Issues, if you don't isolate when the Q&A occurs, I'm not saying for every subject matter, but we need to kind of figure out what that dynamic might look like, to make sure folks aren't just feeling very presented to. And I really want to envision this summit to be engaging, and folks being able to sort of collaborate on ideas and concepts and sort of those things too, because I think that'll tie into how does a steering committee get informed with some of this too. So just some other food for thought.
and Eva, do you think one of the things we were debating today was doing like roundtables, like the Eggs and Issues, or versus like all having desks type thing?
Yeah. Let me think about that for a minute. So, okay, so like long tables with chairs facing possibly, or that was round table.
I felt like at Eggs and Issues, like being at a round table, we were able to talk to each other a little bit more and like collaborate a little bit more easily than perhaps a desk kind of. Just thinking about that engagement piece.
Yeah,
Madam Chair,
I do think roundtables are more inviting than sort of the classroom style seating environment. And one of the things that we did, when we've talked to Sarah about the Summit County Housing Summit that we put together a couple years ago, it was really beneficial when we had a couple breakout groups where people like took some information in and then kind of came back. And I don't know if it's a packed day, as I can see already. So maybe I can give some feedback on that if I have a little more time to look at what your agenda times are and give you some suggestions. Okay.
Thanks, Eva. That'd be great.
Yeah.
Yeah, Director and Mayor Craig.
Oh, we're good. If we're moving on, we're good.
Did you have any input on the summit agenda?
No, I just thought we were actually getting into the weeds for this particular level of conversation.
Oh, okay. All right.
Sorry.
That's okay. I think that it sounds like, I mean, we have some time here. It's April 30th. And Sarah are asking us for input. And so let's continue, if it's okay with people, to email, or, you know, if you all feel like you want like a think tank sort of, or think group, happy to be part of that. And but yeah, it looks like it's, and I think we're gonna get my prediction. Okay, here's a prediction. Plus with Super Bowl here, right? This is why we do predictions. I think we're gonna fill up 100 like really quickly. So, all right. RFP for housing needs assessment. Sarah, you're back on.
Yeah, we're working on putting together an RFP for the housing needs assessment, and I just wanted to open it up to our government partners if there were specific things that you all were looking for data points for us to for a provider to be able to hit those data points within a housing needs assessment. I will also be sending you all the RFP before we post it, and we plan to have it open for a month, but I just wanted to see if there were any data points that were missing in your current metrics that you could say right off the top of your head. Make sure it includes this.
Anybody have any input? And could this be something too, Sarah, that people email you fairly quickly?
Yes.
Okay. Yep. We have the root study, I think, is the last one that was done, at least sort of a baseline of sorts. And then the work that Project Moxie did for the 3-year strategy. So we're starting to get in addition to previous studies. All right. Anybody have any input on that? All right. Annual report. This is Mike and Sarah Tober.
Looks like Mike had to catch his flight, so it's just me. But yes, you all should have received the draft annual report that I sent to you. This is kind of our homework. This is not to be necessarily decided upon today. I don't even know that we need to take much time for input. I just want to let you know it includes everything kind of about the RHA. All of the board of directors are listed in here as well. Kind of our focus and commitment, the housing needs of La Plata County. So it really helps to articulate once again that need. It has the 2023 snapshot. So we have the same graphic that you're starting to see everywhere. That's kind of what we're calling our 2023 annual report infographic. Kind of hits the highlights of everything that was accomplished. Prop 1 is in there, RHA representation. We have some financial highlights, and then we have a spread that talks about looking ahead, and it again talks about that steer committee and capacity building and the housing summit. So our goal is to have you all review it, take time with it. You can make markups on the PDF and or just send me an email of any potential edits that you may have. And then we will bring it back to the board next month for you all to approve it. And then once it's approved, we will move into the printing of it as well as providing it in PDF format. Any questions, thoughts?
Any thoughts people have? Yes, Director and Councilor Yazzie.
You know what? I did print it out, and actually it looks really excellent. So I'm real happy with it. So thank you for all your hard work on it.
Glad to hear it. And we are grateful to have our partner, Project Moxie, help us with that, with the design of it. And this is a portion of it has been covered under the technical assistance grant as well.
All right. Yeah, there's a lot happening. It's really exciting. All right, now we're going to get on to decision items. Resolution number 24023, strategic plan adoption. It is in our packet. Is there any comment on this? Questions? Yes, JJ, or do you want to set it up and kind of walk us through it? That might be a good place to start.
Yeah, thank you. Excuse me. So me and Sarah Schwartz worked for this resolution. It is fairly basic. The bulk of what it does is simply adopt the strategic plan, which we've spent the last couple of months going over and refining and honing. So you'll see that after the language of the resolution itself is attached to the strategic plan. And so the language of the resolution just simply says, this is a strategic plan that we have crafted and we are formally adopting it.
All right. Any questions that directors have about the actual language in, and I'm looking at page 20 and 21. Kevin.
Well, I just want to say thank you to Sarah and the staff, because I think you took a lot of input, particularly when we first saw this, and made some modifications that I think really helped tighten it up a little bit, and certainly brought it in more in alignment with what board members were interested in. So just thank you. I mean, it looks pretty good.
Great. Need any other questions, comments? And Sarah or JJ, can you remind me, I'm putting on my commissioner hat now, when we do resolutions, we take public comment, but we have not done that before. Is that correct?
That's correct. RHA bylaws don't require public comment for each resolution.
All right, that sounds good. So if you're a member of the public, just know that it's in the packet, and this strategic plan was born out of a lot of things, but the RHA rejuvenating itself, contracting with the Alliance, of course, for the staff work. And then remind me what month that we spent time in a 2-day retreat to
September or
October.
October. Okay, so last October, thank you, Sarah Schwartz. We as a board really wanted to set the future direction. We got under a technical assistance grant, had a person help us. Project Moxie helped us, the staff helped us, and we really went to work and put that together, and then it's gone through several iterations. So a little background there for people. And on that note, do we have a motion to approve the strategic plan that is in our packet?
I'll make that motion.
All right,
And
is there a
I make
second?
motion towards the resolution, is that correct?
Yes, yes.
So a resolution to approve number 2024-03.
All right. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, so it's been moved by Director Sickles and seconded by Director Hall to approve resolution 2024-03. All in favor say aye, please.
Aye, please.
Aye, please.
I realized when I said that how that would sound. Okay, thank you, everybody. I think that passes. Huge milestone. Thank you to everybody. Getting strategic plans done is like a big exercise in herding cats, and this was no different. So thank you very much. And I think we got a good product for the community. So very good. All right, invoicing for the IGA.
Yes, we just brought this, we wanted to bring this to the board because some of our government partners are ready for their invoice, and we have in the past usually waited until March. So we just wanted to make sure that the board was okay with us starting to invoice now to those government partners.
The town of Bayfield is ready for your invoice anytime.
So is the city of Durango. We've set up the requisition. I believe it's working through workflow. So when we get that invoice, we could process it within a 30-day timely manner.
As is town of Ignacio.
Yeah, same. Oh, go ahead, Kevin.
I was gonna say, well, we might as well jump on board. We just talked about it the other day. We're ready to go.
Okay, the accountant is ready to go as well, so we'll go ahead and get those invoices out. Thank you all.
All right, thank you. All right, grant matrix, Sarah Schwartz.
Yes, so thank you guys all for your feedback. I think I've revamped it quite a bit and I think it looks really good and it definitely represents more of the history of grants and kind of where they're at. You'll notice on page 30, there's just kind of a basic stats broken up by jurisdiction and then also the use of their funds. And then the next couple pages go a little bit more in depth. If let's see if Bayfield wants to update everybody. Yes, it's kind of Bayfield and the city, but or in the county.
Sorry, I just had to find the page. So we just received a letter from La Plata County regarding the $700,000 for infrastructure for our grant. And yes, so it's down there in progress. So I hear it's approved.
Katie, Marcia here. Yes, we approved it at the last meeting.
We're gonna change that for the next one then. Let's see, and then Ignacio has a little update as well.
Director Garcia or Mayor and Director Craig, do you have any updates from Ignacio?
I'm not aware of anything at this point. I mean, we're in progress, so, but Mark, did he still around?
Yeah,
Yep.
I am working on a board packet, so sorry for closing my monitor out. You don't want to see me multitasking, but yeah, we updated the grant matrix. We are waiting on a few numbers from Fading West so that we can modify our request to La Plata County and IHUI for the grant funds that we're looking to utilize on the Rock Creek project, which is moving along nicely. And so that's our biggest update right now. Thank you.
And then La Plata County, which was Kevin's update.
I guess I'm not tracking real well with where we're at on the agenda. I mean, this is not the community update, but it's just, we provided an update on the grant tracker. We also, if anyone, we don't have the spreadsheet in front of us, but there's actually a sub tab related to La Plata County and some of, because the county operates slightly different, we're not building houses, but we are trying to provide support to projects, whether it be Bayfield, Ignacio, Westside Mobile Home Park, the Adventure Inn project, which is a little tangential, but still very important to the big picture here. And those all kind of got absorbed into the spreadsheet that we use as the grant tracker. I don't know that I see that here, but I think what we have here was the west side, and there's not a whole lot to report except the project continues. And Marcia, certainly if I've missed anything, please, by all means.
Nope, you're good. All right, anything else, Sarah?
No, just how Sarah Tober mentioned earlier with the local planning capacity grant would be the only real update for the RHA. So that should cover it. And if you guys there's any other feedback that the board would like to see for March's version of this, I'm happy to include the tab that shows all of the La Plata County funding that's going out, not just what is being received. So we can definitely include that in next week or next month's board packet or any other feedback that you all have.
All right, I think it's important I always look at the bottom line at the bottom and the gap was very interesting, but also impressive that the amount that's been brought into our community so far. So, but we know that a lot of those are ARPA funds and they are not sustainable necessarily from the state level. So that's why the work of the steer committee is even more important. Okay, Prop 123, Eva and Sarah. Sarah Tober.
Okay. Sarah and I will complement each other, I'm sure. There's not a lot to report right now on Prop 123 from the Division of Housing side. That's more the ownership side. We're certainly monitoring. Many of us attended a webinar this afternoon right before this meeting. So sorry if I was just a couple minutes trying to get onto this other Zoom for us for this afternoon's meeting. In particular, as I mentioned at the board meeting last month, there was the survey that we were all hopefully able to fill out, or most of us, I hope, completed that throughout the state. And so this afternoon's webinar over the lunch hour was specifically around what those survey results entailed. So that was really beneficial. It was a kind of a lengthy, I think, PowerPoint with a lot of information that I don't think any of us were aware of that was going to be presented. So we would hopefully be able to share some of that out with you all at the RHA level if we can get access to that. And then on February 26th, that committee that presented the survey results, which we all know it's difficult to meet the 90-day fast track. And I think there were a variety of answers of why that is. And they didn't really come to the table with a lot of like, well, what are we going to do to address it? Other than towards the end of like, well, you might be able to get extensions and you might be able to submit something else for this. So on February 26th, they're going to have another stakeholder advisory group meeting with the draft guidance of process for the 90-day fast track. And Sarah, anything else I might have missed?
No, that was a challenging meeting to get through. So you did a great job. I also thought that Paul's comments were really on point. It's Paul Major who has developed those, can't remember the name of the housing development in Telluride right now, but I thought it was very poignant what he stated of the intention of the Prop 123 funds that the voters have passed. So
I think it's rural homes, isn't it?
thank you, Brenna.
You're welcome.
I mean, the biggest challenge, and those of us that have been in community development or the planning world, is if you have a perfect application submittal that hits all of your standards and boxes. I don't think I've ever seen one before, but if it optimistically occurred, could you still achieve it? I think many of us that have planned development processes, it is more than a 90-day process. And so there's been a lot of confusion on when to check a box that it was approved, when does it start tracking, when could you ask for an extension, as simply as that would be. So if you had a great application and it met all the boxes, I think it's one thing, but due to a lot of different unique land use code standards, statewide, no one is the same. And so I think there's going to be a lot of challenges with trying to hit that fast track. And there's been no conversation of an amendment to the bill to change the 90 days that I'm aware of.
Well, that's where my question came, and maybe you just answered it, Eva, but my sense is that after the machinations of the next year or more, whatever it is, there's going to have to be some modifications, because like you just said, the absolutely perfect application, 90 days is a stretch at best. And then you bring in codes that are challenging, like La Plata counties, which is unique around the state, or others. I mean, they're going to find that everyone's going to be dropping off the 123 because they're not going to be able to meet the requirements, except for the very progressive, the very well-funded organizations and communities. So I don't know if that push has started yet, but I'm guessing it's going to come at some point.
From the chat box in this meeting, a lot of folks were asking a lot of that types of questions. I think Robin DeValco's response from DOLA and Division of Housing was like, we're looking into it, we hear you. And I think the survey results were very clear that municipalities spoke that this is almost impossible to achieve, even with just one project. So when you have a variety of projects coming in at scale, some may be affordable, some may only have a proportionate amount of affordability or attainability for workforce. How do you, give preferential treatment to one or over the other? Obviously, if one had more units or something like that, maybe, but there's still this just question, is everybody supposed to get a fast track that maybe has a component of workforce and affordability? And I think their answer was yes. And I thought, well, it's a staff capacity challenge then too, and outside agency capacity to be able to do those reviews. Some more to come.
What I would anticipate is what I said. So the lesser communities that don't have real sophisticated or a lot of staff are not going to be able to meet the requirements. Suddenly they're going to have this massive disparity between the haves and the have-nots, and they're going to have the money stacking up. And there's going to have to be some kind of push comes to shove adjustments so that the communities that are challenged either have ability to figure something out that works, or they change the rules. Because it's going to come. It's like all your questions about land banking, Eva, last fall when we had DOH down here, and a lot of head scratching going on, because I think those who are in the trenches understand the challenges. Those who are not in the trenches but might be at a state level policy making position, it all sounds great until you get into the implementation stage, and it's going to be tricky.
All right, any other thoughts on this? I really appreciate you both tracking on this. This is some detailed stuff, and it's really super helpful. I will say I spent a lot of time on legislative calls with our two organizations, and maybe CML has caught something that we haven't caught, but I don't think there's any legislation to remedy. And maybe the sentiment being expressed here is we have to get into it and see what the problems are. So it might be more of a 25 session, but I haven't heard of a bill that's trying to remedy any of this yet. All right, on that note, legislative updates. Does anybody have anything pressing? I have a little bit, but I'm not gonna try to go into great detail because I know everybody tracks on it in different ways. Anybody want to jump in? Well,
there's a lot of bills, Marcia. So if you want to kick it off in some way or shape or form.
I'll kick it off, and I'm going to say, don't ask me detailed questions because I'm A, at home, and B, my stuff is at work, and C, I may not be able to answer them. But we know that Senate Bill 213 that was in last year's session failed. It has come back in the form of really a number of bills. One is transit-oriented communities, but that applies to the Front Range. It has come back in the form of ADUs, requirements around ADUs, and all of that kind of stuff. That was Front Range, but then there is an emerging bill that would apply to unincorporated counties that we're tracking on, not municipalities. And then the one that I think we all really need to be paying attention to on some form or fashion, because it relates to our needs assessment, is the concept of something called strategic growth initiatives. The governor has a bill and CML has a bill. And my understanding, and I don't think there has a bill been introduced yet, but the idea is to take some of, require planning, they're not sure the verb yet. Is it incentivize? Is it require? What is it? And it could really have huge implications for Region 9 in Southwest Colorado, and depending on what verb they use. Is it permissive? Is it encouraging us? Is it requiring us to do housing development and planning on a regional level? So that is something that I think we all need to be tracking on. It's basically like the new 13 light. And I have some fact sheets on it, happy to send, of what I understand, but I think it's, frankly, we may be in another situation, I hope not, where we get it 8 days before the session ends. I hope they learned their lesson last time, because that isn't a good way to do legislation, because we don't have time to react. And Katie and Eva and Gilda, I don't know if you're tracking, or any of you, if you're tracking on this through CML or not.
So I am tracking that, Marcia, just kind of staying ahead of, you know, what it means to municipalities. So yes.
Okay, all right. And then the other thing is, it does look like there's going to be a construction defect bill. There was a good article in the Colorado Sun today. I'll try to find it and put it in the chat. Very good. I think they're really trying to strike a balance between people that are concerned about shoddy construction and don't have any recourse, and then getting more condos online that would be more affordable to people. So really super controversial, but in my opinion, needed. We have to have the conversation, at least on some level.
Yeah, if I
And
may,
that's what I know. I'm not going to pretend to delve into all of them, but we're certainly, like a lot of people, on a lot of calls about all these. Mark?
yes, thank you. I was just gonna add that Chair Vaughn has been really adamant about this construction defects issue for condo construction, and I'm sure he's really happy to see a bill being carried to change a really difficult set of rules and regulations for condo construction.
Yep. Yep. All right. Anything else on legislation? All right. We'll move on to member updates. Mayor Craig or Director Garcia, do you have updates from Ignacio?
I'll let Mark take this one.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, Rock Creek's moving along quite nicely. As I mentioned earlier in the grant matrix, we're working on 2 grants, one reallocating funds through IHUI that we received for the vertical portion of our project, that phase, as well as our request with the county. We're trying to refine that further, so we have infrastructure dollars and vertical construction dollars integrated into that request, and we're working on those numbers as we speak. So project's moving along nicely. And I would also mention that our engineer planning firm, SEH, out of Durango, that's been working on this with us from the get-go, all the way back to our original housing needs assessment, approached us and said they would like to submit our project for consideration during the Colorado Municipal League annual conference, and our project was selected. So we will be working with Nancy Dostal, who you most know, and Mayor Craig on preparing for a presentation at CML's annual summer conference. And with that, I wanted to also add that we're still continuing discussions with the Southern Ute Indian Tribe on their interest to build 5 plexes on our property, and they're waiting on congressionally directed spending approvals, which is held up in Congress. But if that's awarded, hopefully they will join us in our project, and with them, I think we'll add a really interesting component to our presentation at CML. So they're waiting, and I think once they get approval or are given approval to move forward with this project, we can together move it forward. And it's really exciting to have both rental and home ownership opportunities within Fading West. And look forward to working with Lisa also on that project with the deed restrictions and permanent financing. So Rock Creek, go. That's what I have to report for now. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mark. Let's go to Trustee and Director Moreland or Katie, Director Sickles.
I'll start, and if Trustee Moreland would like to add in. So we are getting ready for the plat that we have to do, a replat of Cinnamon Heights regarding the 30 units in Cinnamon Heights. So we're almost at a point where that'll go to a public hearing. Even though the town is a majority landowner in the HOA, there's other lots in there. We'll be getting a special meeting because it has to be approved by the HOA as well. So we're trying to be a good neighbor in this whole process. The RFQ, we're looking for builders, has been out for review by other professionals that Nicole's been sharing with it. I've had my chance to review that. So the board will consider that RFQ at their meeting on February 20th. And certainly excited about getting the funding we need to start moving ahead with infrastructure. And of course, our goal is that all 30 units are, that RFQ would help us understand what the developer would like. A lot of our local contractors want to make sure that they have that opportunity. We did ask about what, does the grant require any local preference? So just like Eva said, a lot of times we go to these state officials and they say, well, I can't answer that. I can't answer that. So a lot of those simple questions that we think should be something that they've had in hand. It just seems like it's brand new to them. So we'll just keep at it. So that's what I have right now.
All right, City of Durango. Counselor and Director Yazzie.
Yes. Could we have Eva go first, and then I'll follow up with the general stuff?
Sure. I've been asked and agreed to be a panelist and a presenter for the upcoming Wells Group real estate forecast event. It's going to be in person, is my understanding this year. I think location is still going to be determined, maybe at Fort Lewis College. In years past, I think that's where it's been. And Nicole Killian has also agreed to participate and be a panelist and presenter. So we're fortunate to be part of that. More than likely a lot of statistical data information, and then sort of what's in the pipeline and the queue for housing projects and things like that. So excited to help with that event on March 13th. We had a milestone event with City Council on a public-private partnership for our city-owned asset land that is up near 1500 Florida Road and the adjacent landowner. So approximately 149 units, of which 50% will be for affordable workforce and deed restricted. Of that 50% of it has to be home ownership. So it's a lot of 50% there, but almost 65 units, approximately, of which half of that would be ownership. It is the largest at-scale workforce, affordable, attainable, mixed use development of its kind in Durango. So really been a heavy lift for us to get it to that milestone event on Tuesday. But really excited. They were also one of the projects awarded in the first round of funding for the Catalyst Fund. So I shared that with Sarah and Mike and Jen last night. Just a really, really exciting event to see that project moving forward. What else? Fair share inclusionary zoning is tracking for our Community Development Commission. That is our inclusionary zoning updates. So that ideally is targeting the end of March. So I'll certainly keep the RHA board informed if you're available and wanting to listen in. We'll be doing a summary report with Root Policy's help of the minor updates that we've been putting in place due to the community engagement forum that we did in December with our stakeholders. And that said, I'll probably leave it to Gilda, maybe about our open house too, I guess, at our new space that we moved into.
Well, thank you, Eva. Yes, we've had quite a few successes with Eva's diligence, and I'm really proud of what the Housing Innovation Program has completed. Anyways, yes, we are going to have a February 9th at noon. We're going to have an open house at the former Big Picture High School, and I will be there. So it's tomorrow at noon. I invite everybody to come down and take a look at what we're doing. We're also going to be having a open public forum for the new Police Department City Hall work for the old 9R building. So that is on February 27th from 5:30 to 7:30. And that's going to be the beginning of the public input for what we would like to accomplish. And also on Tuesday, March 26th from 5 to 6:30 is another Engage Durango forum. And I would encourage people to put that out there because they can come down to the Durango Public Library and engage with all the departments of the city of Durango, and also I will be there. And it seems to be very helpful for people to understand what we're doing with our general departments, also the housing that we're trying to accomplish. And then on a personal note, I'd like to say that for the Tree Farm Village, having that public hearing was real revealing to me, the opposition that we have in the community to provide housing for the general public. So I'm really proud that we went ahead and changed the zoning to move forward on that project. So thank you to everybody for working on housing, and it makes a difference. And that's all I have.
All right, thank you. La Plata County, in addition to previous updates given as part of the grant tracking, I don't really have anything else. I don't know if Jen, if you are engaged and have any news for us or updates on the Adventure Inn, but feel free to jump in on that if you want. But Kevin, do you have anything?
I'll just add a couple other things that are kind of subsets of maybe the things we talked about earlier, or in addition to, all of us are provide fees to Homes Fund to do a lot of really good work throughout the community, and that continues. And one of the things that the county budgeted for last year for this year was additional money to go into their mortgage assistance program. So we're working on a new professional services agreement with them, but what that would allow is a transfer $200,000 additional dollars to Homes Fund for mortgage assistance program. And they already have, the county already has one with DMR for fee in lieu that goes to through Homes Fund for mortgage assistance for employees of DMR. But just the fact that we're adding to the pot from the county, I think is meaningful. I'm kind of been about a year since I've been over at the county. So for me, it was really helpful to do a look back over the last year, as well as what's coming this year. And while I'm going to generalize here, in terms of all the different programs that the county has supported last year or going into this year, and that includes things like fiscal agent or ARPA money going to housing projects in the community. The county has an allocation of private activity bonds, which isn't really hard dollars, but it's tax credit benefit to developers. It's pushing $10 million over 2 years, so it's pretty meaningful numbers. And I think those things don't necessarily get advertised, but my suspicion is all the communities do a lot of different things that relate to the benefit of housing, and that is out there. So the county may not be putting vertical construction housing up, but certainly very active in a variety of ways. The only other thing I would add is I spent a significant amount of time last week with our new community development director talking about code amendments as it relates to whether it be fast track or just general improvements to the code relative to housing and other types of development. And she's really working diligently to continue to add staff that will help with this, but also just kind of creating that list of code amendments that need to occur in order to incrementally improve the code. And certainly, I say these things, and Director/Commissioner Porter Norton hasn't been in these conversations yet, but most certainly it'll be coming through our Planning Commission and then the Board of County Commissioners for kind of a discussion of, what are the priorities and how do we move it forward and what it looks like. So again, that's kind of backroom stuff, but it is important towards movement towards improving the program for La Plata County. So I thought I might mention those couple of things.
Good. All right. Thank you, Kevin. All right. Does anybody else have any general announcements?
I might just have one. I just got notification. So on the DOLA grants and tracking for the city of Durango, And HUD, we just got notification that the city was reimbursed the $4 million today. That's pretty huge. I was like, how do I notify people of that? So I'll celebrate with you all right this very moment of the very, very hard work that goes into getting grants, that goes into all of the reporting and requirements. I've learned so much by doing. Nobody gave me a manual on how to figure half of this stuff out these days. But really, really proud of myself, my team, City of Durango for supporting us, for going after some of these funds, and of course our development partners and finance, who helps us a lot through a lot of these things. So the $3 million was from the federal government through the congressional funding that happens with Senator Bennett and Senator Hickenlooper. So I'm going to let them know that that's really good news. And then the 1 million was from the House Bill 1271 funds for IHOA. So we just finished our grant reporting January 10th. It's been a heavy lift for us, and to get that reimbursement just means so much. So we'll end on that, maybe. I don't know.
I see Director Garcia has his hand up. I wasn't sure if that was a yay or a hand, but it looks like a hand.
It could be both. Congratulations, Eva. But I also wanted to throw it out there, not an agenda item, but you threw it out there. And it was just food for thought in the Durango Herald article about the Catalyst funds. Some of the comments at the end, I think there's just a lack of information out there about who the RHA is. And I know we struggled with that early on. What is it we want to do? What do we want to achieve in all our work? And I just throw it out there that maybe in the upcoming summit or somewhere we can do some more outreach in the press release, maybe on our $900,000 success in funding there. We can just build upon our messaging and what it is we do so the community understands us more. And we're an organization. We're not the city of Durango. We're not the town of Ignacio. So I just throw that out there that maybe as directors, we should think about it. And when we can find an opportunity or area where we can get some messaging out, that we do it. So just an observation. Thank you.
Mark, we'll go ahead and start on a press release. The staff will, for that $900,000. That's a good point.
Yeah, I had an idea when I saw your great graphic about 2023, if that could be made into a JPEG that you all share, and then we could reshare it. It's amazing to me when people are like, oh, I didn't hear about that until I looked at your Facebook page. I mean, that's just the era we live in, right? That, you know, that social media is, I think, the second, at least based on our poll, second to the Durango Herald. And so, you know, when we can get information out there, whether it's Instagram or Facebook or whatever we use in a form, and they may look at it for 2 seconds, but they'll get like RHA moving ahead, RHA good, you know, RHA doing things. So I concur with what Mark said. All right, great meeting. Anything else? Anybody? And oh, by the way, sorry for Ignacio folks that were not there today. I was really looking forward to coming out there. But I'm actually, it's really snowing at my house, so I'm glad we're better safe than sorry, especially because it was supposed to get bad at around 4. So anyway,
I don't know what I'm
thanks.
going to do with you know, the 4 quarts of ice cream and the 3 dozen cookies that I ordered for you all, but we'll figure it out.
Start eating, Mark.
Yeah, give it to your staff.
I'm just kidding, but yeah, we're sorry we missed you too, and it is important that we stay safe. So
all right, and thanks to all the public. You're very patient for listening in, and please get with the Alliance staff or any of us if you have any questions based on today's meeting. So thank you, everybody. Stay safe out there, and we have 25 more minutes in our day here. So
bye-bye.
Thanks. All right, bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Hey, ooh, she's gone. Okay, I'm gonna see if I can get it. All right, thank you all. I'll go ahead. Yep, I'll go ahead and end the meeting.